Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Borremand goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Borremand and Warner, but Borremand's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin's the lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening everyone and welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel for round number 8 of this PCF2 season. Today we are headed to the historic and iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit in the Belgian mountains and hills. It is a wonderful circuit, a wonderful venue, and it should make for a fantastic event this evening. My name is Dan Field and tonight being joined by, as always, by Nathan Richards. Nathan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, as usual, and I'm excited yet again for another great race here in PSGL at F2. I think we've had a great first couple of rounds. Round 7, obviously, I think was one of our cleanest we've had this season. Was a great race by all parties involved. I think yet again tonight here at Spa, which is a bit of a longer track, a track which is a bit more known for incidents. Hopefully, our drivers can try and keep it clean there, and also with that championship battle brewing up very nicely with now Jack in the lead.
I mean, the championship standings, it was looking like Mirko Soriano was the man to beat. All of a sudden, last week, Mirko had no pace whatsoever, and Jack West was able to capture the very top spot of the standings. Apologies about the standings being a bit messed up. I've just loaded them in, but I should be able to get them properly sorted on your screens. Now you can see Jack West is at the top of the order ahead of Mirko Soriano, Joseph Bloke in 3rd, 4th is Duncan Hoffman, Tamas Gao is in 5th on 31 points. Andrew Tarabukin scored a very nice, I think, P3 last week. He's jumped his total up to 25 points. Joost Noordijk in 7th on 21. He had a really good showing for arguably the first time this season. Jan Haladej is now in 8th on 20 points. Szymon Lekomski with another really solid finish. That's 2 in a row for him. He brings his total up to 18 and sits in 9th. Then rounding out the top 10 is Tycho Hardy. In 11th is Floris Fires on 14 points, the same as Legend Rosenberg in 12th. Rishan Jacobs in 13th on 12 points, and then Max Wiesel, Xander van Dijken and Daniel Koyer sit 14th, 15th and 16th on the same amount of points, that being 11. Then Ben Chabakrony in 17th on 9 points. Harvey Cohen is 18th on 8 points. Sergio Sabrino is 19th on 6. And then rounding out the grid is Timur Zelenkovic on 5. You can see the constructor standings. It's a dead heat between Ferrari and Aston Martin. Red Bull trailing a little bit behind. McLaren on 38. Then Alpine and Haas equal on 31. Alfa Romeo just 1 point ahead of Mercedes on 26 compared to 25. AlphaTauri have got 18 of their points from Szymon Lekomski, 19 of course as the total, and then Williams struggling to get off their feet this season on 7. So looking at the standings, Nathan, seems like Jack West after that win, I mean, he's really jumped his total up to greater heights now, and Mirko Soriano is going to struggle.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jax can put himself into a bit more of a comfortable position now he knows he's got the lead. He just has to defend it, and I think another man with a lot of work to do is Joseph Loke. Obviously missed out last week's race. I think he ended up saying he wasn't able to be there just the day before, so obviously not very good for him at all. He's 11 points back from Mirko. He's about, 20-ish back from Jack West, so he's got a lot of work to do in these next few races, but I think that's what he's shown in his previous performances here in F2. I think he's definitely got the chance to put himself fighting for that lead. Just depends on what Jack and Mirko can do. I've heard as well that Mirko has got some new pedals, load cell pedals, so we'll see how that affects his performance. And also Jack West, we've known in the past, he's been known for having wheel disconnect. So let's hope that doesn't happen to him tonight. But if any of that does happen, it could put Joseph Loke and even Duncan Hoffland in a very good position, depending on where they qualify and run in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last week was one of the most clean races we've had so far this season in F2, and I'm really hoping for the same around Belgium. And what can we say about this circuit? It is a very long circuit. It's the longest on the calendar, just over 7 kilometers total length. But it can make for some good racing, of course. Sometimes it can make for some dirty driving as well. You know, a lot of guys like to go for those late moves in towards at the final few, not the final few corners, but the corners at the end of the Kemmel Straight. The name's gone blank in my mind, and then it is pretty difficult to overtake around the rest of the circuit. So then some drivers, they tend to get a little bit frustrated because really, although there's such a long track, the only overtaking opportunities are at the bus stop chicane, turn number 1, and then at the end of the Kemmel Straight. So there's only 3 real places to make an overtake, and I think that could maybe encourage some questionable driving today.
Yeah, I think it will, but I think it's a track that's always had its issues with racecraft. You know, with the nature of the track being one of the old tracks on the calendar, I think it will always have those issues. And with some of the sections, especially that middle sector, being quite hard to overtake, it's very hard as well to keep behind because of the dirty air. So obviously we'll see how that affects drivers within the DRS this time. And Dan isn't in the lobby yet. Would you like to share my screen to you, if that will work?
Yeah, you can do. I mean, I won't be able to straight broadcast it because of the camera setup, but I mean, maybe I can just take that off and then join that, and you can see the stream. Hopefully, I mean, this is a little bit scuffed, but maybe it can work if I hide the cameras here and then go into OBS and then get rid of the double face. Yeah, there we go. Wait, hold on. Why is it doing that? I'm not too sure what's happening at the minute. Both yours and my names on the side. I mean, we can see it. We can see the stream. It's not great quality, but hopefully everyone, I will be in the lobby very soon. My game is just patching at the moment. It's only got 2 minutes left. Then I'll be able to get in. So this is what we're going to have to do just for the start.
Yeah, and well, first on track is Camel Sasha. Everyone else also getting out onto track very early, so I don't know if that means there's a sign of possible rain or if everyone just wants to get their first runs done and dusted out the way as soon as possible. Just 2 people left in the pit lane, which is Jonah, Vrishan and Matthew Alder. Obviously Matthew not having the best performances this season at all, and well, with it being 8 rounds in, would definitely like to get himself a nice decent point scoring on the board today, so he's got a lot of work to do. As Vrishan also exits the pits, and Jan Martin's also just following, who is another driver who I expected a lot more from this season. He's been quick in practice, he was quick last season, but so far this season hasn't had the best performance. Obviously, I remember one of the rounds back in Silverstone, he had quite a big collision on the first lap and dropped all the way down to the back of the field. And after that, he hasn't really got his feet off the ground at all much. So hopefully for him, he can do decent around this track. But Camel is the first one out on track. Yet again, another driver who has suffered quite badly with luck this season. Obviously, was on for a good point scoring at Silverstone until he had issues with his game, so didn't end up joining the lobby. Once we had that restart for the race, and his teammate Simon Okomsky has also had a very decent, last 2 or 3 rounds. Here, I believe he got a podium, didn't he? In the was it last week he got a podium or the week before?
Week before, I believe, at Japan, he was in P2, and then he had another decent showing last time out in Imola. So AlphaTauri, although they are a team lower down the order, it's good to see that Szymon Lukomski's found himself inside that top 10 area, and hopefully for Camel Stasher's sake, he is able to get his feet off the ground in this championship. You know, get a few points in at this race. He needs to get that ball rolling because he's running out of rounds. It's already, Nathan, round number 8 of this season. It's gone by so quickly. And yeah, just for Camel's sake, I hope he can do well tonight.
Yeah, I think to me, I still can't believe we're already 8 rounds in. It's gone very quickly, and well, it's gone that quick. I forgot some of the races we've had this season so far. But on to the on-track action. Camel Sasha headed down that first sector, 29.900. In that first, he heads in towards the Lacombe chicane. Bit of slidey through here, as obviously we know around here you have a very slidey rear, so obviously a lot of drivers will be battling with that throughout this qualifying and race. In towards Brussels now at turn 10, and you come through in towards Speaker's Corner, also known as No Name. You can see they're just eating that curb on the inside line, using it on the exit as well to rotate the car through the corner. Then in towards Pouon at the double left-handers. Very difficult section, and it's very easy to go wide there, and obviously Camel taking it right to the inch of the edge of that track there. Then in towards the next chicane, which I believe is Campus, if I believe correctly, if he comes through here very nicely. Then in towards Stavelot. down at turn, I believe, 15. Very nice. Try not to run wide. Use that curve as much as you can. Then we have curved pull Frere at turn 16. Then you head through in towards the final few corners. Down these final sets are pretty much just straight. You don't need to lift at all until you get to the bus stop chicane. You come through in towards Blanchimont at the left-hander here. Barely even turning the car as you come through there. Then as you get set up in towards the bus stop chicane, can brake just after the 100-metre board. Eat that curb on the inside, then eat it on the inside on the next corner, turn 19, then you ride wide on the exit. As you head down towards the line, what will it be for Camille? It's a 40.489, a very nice banker lap.
A good time to start off for Camel Stashura, but Max Wiesel was able to get himself ahead as the stream has just ended because I am able to get into the lobby. I'm still loading for the time being, but yeah, as the session gets rolling, seems like already it's got some very competitive times. Max Wiesel at the top of the order from what I can see. Once we load in, we will be able to see everyone as their laps come to an end. It says loading complete, so let me see the action on your screens. There we go. So now I can tab back in to the F1 game, so you can see Joseph Loke is on top at the minute with a 1 minute 40.169 with 13 minutes left to go. Nathan, I'm finally in the lobby.
Yep, Jack West up into P2 behind Joseph Loke, who had a very good lap. A 40.169 for his banker. That is really quick, because Max, no, it was Jan Halliday, sorry, going into P4 with a .290. Ben Sabakonyi in the top 5. Another driver who needs to start getting his feet off the ground at the end of this season, as Chanakinchu goes into 12th. But yeah, a .169 is a very quick lap. I believe last night Nicholas Longay did a .8 mid, so he's only a couple of tenths off that. That is very decent, obviously, with the track evolving throughout the session. Yeah, Joseph could be looking possibly for a 39 this session.
Joseph Loke is a driver that has been incredibly competitive this season so far, and I think if he's turned up to every single round, then he would be well and truly within the title fight. He is a little bit a ways adrift from Jack West and Mirko Soriano, but a few more good races from him, he really could be a bit of a dark horse maybe coming into the last few rounds of the season, but we'll have to wait and see. It's himself and Jack West who look to be the quickest two drivers thus far. Also really love to see a good race from Max Wiesel, because so far this season he has struggled. Both Mercedes drivers have. Once again, Flores Vires not here this week, but you know, Max Wiesel, it's good to see him still turning up. From what I remember, he didn't have a great showing in Imola. I think he was way down the order for most of it. I'm pretty sure it was just qualifying in the end. He didn't really have any pace, so fingers crossed for him that he has a good race this evening, and so far Nathan looks like he's on track to do so.
Yeah, Mirko Soriano in 16th on a 52.6. He made a mistake on his first lap. I think it was down towards the end of that first sector, which is not ideal at all for him. He's in 16th. He's got to obviously get back into the pits, go again. And if you look at the Ferrari on Dan's screen, you can also see that we've got the limited Ferrari Monza edition livery that Ferrari obviously going to run this weekend at the IRL Monza Grand Prix. Very nice livery, and I really do like it. Apart from the fact you look at the livery and you think, it's an Italian team, but it's got a German flag on the back.
Didn't even notice that until now, but yeah, we finally do get a nice camera angle of it. I really do enjoy it. It looks a little bit like, I think the race suits look a little bit like McDonald's uniforms, but I mean, this is it is a fantastic looking livery, and I really do enjoy when Ferrari do their special ones. I'm hoping that the Alfa Romeos have theirs, but I haven't seen anything about it. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But as everyone's coming back into the pit lane at the end of this very long lap, Jona Martins and Szymon Lekomski coming back out onto the circuit straight away. I think it's a good time, Nathan, to appreciate some of our chatters in the live stream. Got 40 viewers at the minute, but I'm seeing a few names in the chat that you know, we do see quite often. We've got Victoria Field, who a lot of people mistake for being my sister, but I have no relation.
Really?
Yeah, I mean the surname, it makes sense, but you know, the other person in the live chat is Kailani May, my wonderful girlfriend. It's great to see the support from her coming into the stream every single week. Nathan, I mean, it is wonderful, you know, this audience that we have here at PSGL coming in every single week, supporting the F2 drivers, and it is great to see.
It is, and another good thing is you tend to see a lot of the engineers as well for the drivers popping in, so sometimes we get some insights of what could possibly happen with the weather, or what strategies working, what strategies not. So it's nice to see a whole host of different people popping into the chat. Obviously, some of them stay for a bit longer than others, some might just pop in for just the race, some might pop in just for qualifying. So yeah, it is nice to always see everyone in the chat, and luckily, compared to F1, I think we have a bit more of a tame chat, don't we?
It is very chill. I mean, we don't have the big names in here in F2. I mean, there's still a lot of very popular drivers on this grid, but you know, we don't have the likes of Jarno Opmeer and Lucas Blakely, Marcel Kiefer, all those very popular guys who have some very passionate fans, and sometimes passion can get the better of people, and then yeah, sometimes it can get a little bit interesting. It's very fun to watch. You know, I never interact really in the chat, but it is always fun just to witness what really happens. But yeah, here in F2, it is incredibly chill. I love everyone who interacts with us, and I love when everyone interacts with us, and it is just great to see. But nevertheless, we'll get back to qualifying. 8 minutes left to go, just under 9 minutes here. We've got Ben Chapeconia getting a 5th-place grid penalty. We're going to have a lovely restart, most likely at the end of this session. But Jonas Martins getting his run underway.
Yeah, Shona did a great job so far in terms of the first couple of corners. On the whole, this session, he hasn't done the best. He didn't get his first lap in. Obviously, people might know Jona as the engineer for Barry and Nico. Obviously, driving in F1 as the Ferrari team. And Jona's a very good engineer, very good driver. Always, you know, if he's not racing, will always be in the shop telling us, you know, the perfect strategies, the predicted weather. So he's in my eyes, a very respected man in F2 as he heads through in towards Speaker's Corner in that obviously very nice livery from Ferrari as his teammate Mirko Soriano in 16th. Also on an 8 lap along with every other driver on this grid so far. Through in towards P1. Very nice from Jan. We'll see what he can do shortly when he gets to the end of this second sector, which is down at the exit of Stavilo. Ben Chapeconia with another penalty for illegal blocking. Let's hope he doesn't get too many, because Drake Dempsey got disqualified for having too many penalties in the last in F3 earlier on. So hopefully no one can suffer from that look as Jan Martins comes through. Out to the end of this second sector, heading down in towards Shimon. I didn't quite catch what he did in the second sector, and plus there's no doubt for us to go off to see if he improved or not as he comes through in towards the bus stop chicane very shortly. Obviously this is a section track that you can use a lot of risk, and a lot of time drivers mess up down here, sometimes invalidate, and some people end up losing their way on the exit, but Jona takes it through very nicely. We'll see. Can he get himself into the top 10 in that Ferrari? It will be only P12 with a 40.5.
Still a decent time, nevertheless. He's not too far off the top spots at the moment. We'll have a look and see who is coming towards the end of their lap. I think we can see Tamas Gal come through the third sector, now down at the lowest point of the circuit. I remember the altitude change here around Belgium at the very peak of the circuit down to the very lowest depth. I think it's a difference of the Big Ben, I believe it is, in total meter distance. Max Liesel comes to the line, 1 minute 40.111 for him, goes half a tenth clear of Joseph Lowe. We're watching Tamas Gao, who's had a decent running in this championship thus far, now head through the final corner, sliding his way in towards the bus stop chicane. Off the exit, we'll see him come to the line. What's it going to be for the Red Bull? He goes behind his teammate with a 1 minute 40.337. I'll have a look now at Jack West, who's unfortunately invalidated on his lap, but he was purple in that second sector. Joseph Lowe currently down on his time, so we'll look further up the road at Valentino Labella in the McLaren. He filled in last week for Jonas Martins in the Ferrari. Now he's headed over here in McLaren. He's gone from Mirko's car to his rival in the championships car, and yeah, that is a very nice time for him. 1 minute 40.227, but Jan Haladej with the first 1 minute 40.0 of the evening.
Yes, and I'm on board with Mirko Soriano, who's trying to hopefully put himself into the top. Well, I'd say the top 3 or top 5 is what he needs to do. He needs to be ahead of Jack West at least, who's in P5, obviously with an invalidated lap time. Obviously had improvements on that lap, as you said, he was purple in the first sector. But back to Mirko Soriano, down in towards the bus stop chicane at turns 18 and 19, I believe, through in towards the exit of that final quarter. What will it be for Mirko? Is it a top 10 or a top 5? It will be P13. Now that, for a championship protagonist, being 7-ish positions back from your rival, is really not good at all, and he's got a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, I mean, that is not a great place for him to be starting at all, unfortunately, so far this season. And really hoping Jonas Martins.
He's hit the wall. Has he? Yes, he has.
Coming in.
Oh! That happened to Thomas Ronho yesterday.
Oh, Shimon's been disqualified as well. Okay, what's happened there is that I think Jonas had a crash or something, and he just stopped in the pit lane, and then Shimon couldn't get through as he was coming to pit, and maybe for some reason he didn't go, so now Shimon's been disqualified from the session as well as Jonas Martins. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on the Discord chat just to see what happens there, but that is really unfortunate that the pair of them have been disqualified. I think that was a really avoidable incident. If what's happened is just someone's crashed into the pit lane, and then they've just stopped or something. But very interesting to see some shenanigans going on here in PSGL PC F2. But nevertheless, we'll continue along. Come to the end of the session. Jan Aladev is the quickest man with just 5 minutes left to go here. Max Wiesel remains P2. Joseph Loke didn't improve on his second attempt. Still a 1 minute 40.169. We know he's incredibly quick in qualifying. And Nathan, we've got to say, he's got to be one of the main contenders for pole position here.
I think it definitely is, and I think it's one thing he needs to try and close his gap on Mirko, which at the moment he's looking, even in P3, very likely. But it's very good for Jan Halliday to be back on the top step at the moment in qualifying, obviously in the championship, currently sitting in P8. Hasn't scored a podium yet. His best finish is 4th. He's done that twice. One of his memorable ones, I think, was at Qatar when he went from P12 to P4 due to penalties. And then obviously he scored P4 last race as well in Imola. So for him, would be nice to finish in the top 3 or maybe take a win here. Currently on pole by just over 60 thousandths of a second to Max Wiesel, who's another driver that would desperately like to be on the podium. Hasn't had a very good season at all for Max's standards. For many people, it could be a great season. For Max, it is purely a very bad season. It could be due to him maybe doing some testing with strategies or testing with setups, or maybe he's just not found the touch for this game that he did on the last one in F1 22.
What's happened with the weather here? It's gone all cloudy all of a sudden. We've just gone from sunny conditions here in Spa to now having a completely overcast here. I'm wondering if there's any rain potentially on the horizon. It would definitely take a lot for that to come at this point. But yeah, everyone's dashing out of the pit lane maybe a little bit earlier than we would expect here. But very interesting to see how it's gotten so dark so quickly. And I think one thing we can think about that, Nathan, is that it's going to be a bit, presumably track temperature is going to have dropped. So maybe it's going to be a little bit more difficult to generate heat into the tyres. And I think that can contribute to some drivers possibly losing grip around here. Maybe I'm just chatting out my arse, but I'm not too sure how this is really going to affect the rest of qualifying.
Yeah, well, I think it will definitely make it more difficult to walk the tyres. Whether that actually affects the grip, I don't know, because we know it's F1 23. It's a very funky game, and it causes issues when it wants to. And sometimes things that shouldn't work actually do. So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll see if people can improve. I'm just looking in the chat, and Mario Lopez says, Sabrino, Esme, Sabrino. I don't know what that means because I'm not Spanish, but I believe it is in support for Sabrino. So let us know in the chat, everyone else, who are you here at 2 supports here today? Are you going to be supporting Jan for pole? Maybe someone else a little bit further down. Mirko, Jack, obviously championship protagonists. Make sure you let us know in the chat before we get on to the final runs, which are about to begin, I think, in about 30-ish seconds. So the one at the front of the field is the Haas of Joost Noordijk.
Lone Haas this evening. We've only got 19 runners. We are missing Xander Van Dijk, and I think it was a very last minute pull out from him. I'm pretty sure he's got some personal issues going on, so all the best to Xander Van Dijken. That means Joost Noordijk is going to have to take it alone this evening, and we'll see what he can do as he heads through the final few corners at Blanchimont. Maybe we're going to see in the race a few drivers possibly go for a move heading in towards there. It's definitely going to be a bold one, into the bus stop chicane. Also wouldn't expect it all that much because you're going to be sacrificing DRS potentially in through the Kemmel Straight. But nevertheless, we'll follow along with Joost Noordijk as he gets this lap underway with just 1 minute to go left in this session. We'll turn on the telemetry as he's going to get his foot flat to the floor to begin this lap, heading in towards turn number 1, up into 7th gear, then down into 3rd, lifting off the brakes and heavy on the power, about 50% application. You really can just punch it on this F1 23 game. Now rising up through the gears as you approach Eau Rouge and Radion, completely flat through here. We're going to ride on board with the Haas man as he tries to take the optimal line through there, and he's done that almost perfectly as now he opens up the DRS to get the speed down this straight in towards Les Combes. The name has finally come back to me. Look at his top speed here. It's going to be 213 miles per hour at the braking zone, and that is a purple first sector now in towards the technical sector 2 of this circle, where it's all downhill through here in towards the next corner of Bruxelles, really using all the track possible, short shifting up through the gears, try and get the most grip as possible in towards No Name. But once again, you're using all the track that you can. Don't keep to that right hand side like you did on the F1 22 game. Is now in towards Pouon, where you're going to go maximum commitment through here, almost completely flat in these modern day F1 cars. A corner once feared, now triumphed with ease now in towards this, I believe it's Lefagna's that little S's section. Very difficult to get absolutely perfect, but once again, Joost Noordijk doing a stellar job on this run. He's up by just over a tenth of a second. Where is this going to put him in the order? We'll have to wait and see. The current time to beat set by Jan Haladej, 1 minute 40.052, but he has got 16 cars behind him, so if Joost is on pole, he can't sit too comfortable because everyone else can overtake him now in towards the final corner at the bus stop chicane for Joost Noordijk. The heaviest braking zone along this circuit, off the exit of the final turn now, and to come across the line, what is it going to be for him? It is P4 for the time being, 1 minute 40.171 for Joost Noordijk as Yannick Schmidt slots in just behind him. We're going to watch Jack West in the McLaren, who is once again invalidated on his lap time as Max Wiesel to the line with the first 1 minute 39 of this session. A fantastic effort from him. Is Joseph Float going to be able to beat it as he flies through now the final few corners? Valentino Novello's put himself up into third, Kamal Stakara in fourth. Here comes Joseph Float to the line. Is it going to be a 1 minute 39? Not quite, just 16 thousandths off of getting that top spot. What about Mirko Soriano, championship protagonist, second in the standings at the minute, looking to take vengeance on Jack West this evening? Coming to the line, it's only P11 for Mirko Soriano. He'll start alongside Jack West in this race, or just behind him in terms of road count. We come to the line, no one is able to beat Max Wiesel. He'll start on pole here in Belgium.
Yeah, Mirko being down in 12th. It's not good at all, is it? He's 2 positions away from 1 point, and Jack West in 10th. This is really good for Joseph Floak. He's in second. He's just behind Max Wiesel. We know that in a lot of cases, if you're in second, you can win the race a lot easier than you can if you're in first, because obviously the DRS and the slipstream being very overpowered around a track like this. This isn't good for Jack or Mirko, because normally you'd say, oh, Mirko's in 12th, that's poor, but Jack's only 2 positions ahead. So, considering he's got 2 invalidations, he could be at risk in this race of getting penalties, because 2 invalidations in 3 laps is quite a lot. So he's going to have to either take it easier in the race or end up getting penalties, which is good for the likes of Joseph, Max, and Jan, who are sitting in the top 3. And also another shout out to Valentino Labella, P4. Very good, considering it's only his second race here this season. He can't be angry with that at all, can he?
No, not at all. I think Valentino Novello, he's done a fantastic job here in qualifying. So bring us back over to the intermission scene. We can talk about that qualifying, and Max Wiesel is on top. The only driver to set a 1 minute 39 in this session. That was a great effort from him. I'm going to have a look back at the F1 stream from last night and see where that would have netted him in terms of qualifying position. But coming into this race, it is a bit of a DRS train. You're not going to want to lead for the entirety of it, but I think starting from the front, it's going to be a good confidence boost for him. Yeah,
I think that's it's very good. I think he's got a good chance of at least getting himself on the podium. We know Max is, I think by far the oldest driver. He's 33 years old, so I think possibly double some of the drivers' age in this grid. Obviously, done a lot of IRL racing. I think he knows how to race very well. It's just about executing the actual thing. So we'll see what he can do tonight. But I think he's got a good chance of getting a podium. Obviously, if nothing goes wrong, and I think also we've got the likes of Joseph and Jan as well. I think are all possible podiums, and then there's many people behind who also can fight for a top 3. So I think tonight we're going to get a very interesting podium. I think it'll be quite an interesting race. Around a track like this, obviously strategy is key. Safety cars can come into here, so I think, I'm quite excited how this is going to go. And obviously we need to see soon as well if Yona and Shimon can get their laps reinstated, because Yona said his lap would be P15, and we're just going to wait, I think, off of Connor to see what his verdict is, whether Yona and Shimon can get their laps reinstated. I believe they would. Maybe not Jonas because he hit the wall, got disqualified, but I think definitely for Shimon, who obviously did nothing wrong and was just trying to enter the pits.
Are we getting a restart here? I'm seeing a lot of people in the main menu. Okay, thank God, because I left and people were saying restart like it wasn't a certain thing there, and it did get me scared for a minute, I will be honest, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what happened there between Yona Martins and Shimon Lakomsky. I mean, I asked in the Discord chat, and it was summarized in 6 words between the pair of them. Yona Martins said, hit pit wall, and then Shimon Lakomsky said, Yona blocked pit lane. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory what happened there. Yona crashed into the pit wall, and then Shimon Lakomsky, he just came in at an unfortunate time and got disqualified for it. Apparently as well, Yona had no fuel, so the car didn't accelerate. Then he got disqualified for it. So I mean, that is, I think, just lazy game design from EA to to just disqualify someone who runs out of fuel for blocking the pit lane. But I mean, whatever. I mean, hopefully both of them get their laps restarted. I think if there is, my mind's gone blank. If there's like video proof and everything, maybe they'll get it reinstated. I think Shimon definitely. Yona, it was his own mistake. It could be questionable as to whether that DSQ was actually deserved, but Shimon Lekonski, I think just wrong place, wrong time, and it shouldn't be his fault.
Yeah, and I've just looked in my DMs earlier on, and Mr. Dale, JE, sent me a picture. He zoomed in on my face when we was on the intermission screen like we are now. So, Dale, I have some words for you. I'm not going to tell you them in here. But, please don't do that again. And don't you dare put them on Twitter either. I mean, if it's not one, it's the other. Every time, someone.
I've had a few in my time of people screenshotting my face, but I mean, I take it as a confidence boost, so you know what? Dale, take as many screenshots of Nathan as you'd like. Just keep them to yourself. Don't put them anywhere. And that's mean. But I also, just a note, I checked in on the PSGL PC F1 pole times or the qualifying times yesterday. Pole was 1 minute 39.819 from Nicholas Longe, I believe. Or maybe that is incorrect, but I think, no, that is right. Then second place, Ulash Zildrim at 1 minute 39.965. And if you remember, Max Wiesel set a 1 minute 39.956. So if Max Wiesel were to set that lap time in PC F1 yesterday night, he'd have put himself on the front row of the grid. So that is incredible lap time. I mean, that is incredibly hard to beat. That was what I'm losing my words. What a lap from him there. And I really do hope that can translate into the race here.
Yeah, that's a great lap time. Max, I think we all know, he's been always great in quali. And on the last game, he was always great in the race, but this game he hasn't been so lucky. So hopefully, he can do something tonight. It'd be nice to see him on the podium, I think, for the first time this season. He's a driver that, coming into round one, I was saying, right, he's going to be a championship contender. Wow, that hasn't quite gone to plan, and he's contended at the moment for P10. And John is saying, someone tell Connor to check the F2 chat. Because we still need to wait for the confirmation from Connor about if Yona and Shimon will get their laps reinstated. Which obviously, from Yona it'd be 18th to 15th, so he would definitely want to take that. So we'll just see what, we'll see what Connor does, if he does respond, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what to really think of it, because I mean, I don't think either driver was on an incredible lap time. I mean, no disrespect for either of them, but I don't think that they were contending for pole position in this session. It's not the end of the world, and I don't think it's worth kicking up such a major fuss that we end up completely delaying the session. If you remember, I think back to Silverstone, we had like half an hour delay, and that was just boring by the end of it. It was a fun, interesting race, but by the end of it, I was just completely done. I wanted to get some food, go to bed, whatever. But hopefully get it all resolved very soon. Connor isn't responding, but I'm looking in the weather, by the way, on the game. Looks like we're going dry here. It's got the sunshine emoji, but I know that doesn't mean that it's always going to be completely accurate to that. But we should at least, Nathan, be starting out dry here.
Yes, well, let's hope, because it is approximate. And knowing our luck, it'll end up saying it's dry and it'll end up being wet. Which a wet Spa track isn't very ideal. We know IRL it's not very ideal either, so hopefully it is dry. Obviously, it also gives us a chance to get DRS for the drivers, which means we'll have some interesting battles down in towards Lake Armand, then possibly in towards that first corner. So I think we've got an exciting race ahead of us. We've got many drivers fighting for positions where they deserve to be. We've got obviously quite a few drivers, 8th position. Obviously, Jan and Max, first and third. They're in different positions where they normally are, so I think it'll be nice to see what they can do from there. Joseph as well. Looking to try and get closer into that championship. He's about, I think, 19 points back from Jack West. So if he was to win, and Jack was to score no points, and Mirko was to score no points, then Joseph would only be 3 points away from the championship lead. If he got the fastest lap, it would only be 2 points away from the championship lead. So this is a very important round for Joseph, and also very important for Mirko and Jack, because if Mirko fails to score points here and Jack does score points, then I think that is pretty safe to say it might be over for Mirko Soriano, because it's been 2 weeks in a row where he's had pretty poor pace.
And after this race, it's only 4 rounds to go. We have Saudi Arabia and Mexico confirmed, but we don't know where we're going for round number 11 or round number 12. And if Mirko Soriano doesn't have pace around those circuits like he hasn't had around Imola and Belgium this evening, it is not looking good for him in the championship. It hasn't looked good for Jack West either, though, so far in this session. I mean, he invalidated 2 laps in a row, and that is going to be a real knock to his confidence, especially after the run of form that he's come off on. Out of Imola, he looked like an incredible talent. I'm sorry, he is an incredible talent, but he looked like he was in incredible form, and I'm just hoping that he doesn't, stumble here and start to lose focus, because looking at Joseph Loke's stats this season, he's missed 3 races in comparison to Mirko and Jack, who has raced every single race here, and he's only 11 points off of Mirko Soriano and then 19 points off of Jack West at the top of the order. And those are some insane stats. And, he started 4 races, he's won 3 of them. So, Joseph Loke, as far as I'm concerned tonight, he is the man to beat.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think he's got a good chance of taking victory, or at least, like we said before, finishing on the podium. So we'll see what he can do. I think now his main thing is the championship lead. I think obviously he missed the first couple of rounds. I think he attended round 2 and then he missed a couple. So I think at that point he was thinking, just finish top 5, top 3. But I think now he's in a position where he's got the perfect scenario to put himself right behind Jack, and I think probably ahead of Mirko. If he finishes in the top 3, I think he'll put himself either just ahead of Mirko or just behind. And then obviously that'll put him about 10 points behind Jack-ish, depending on where Jack finishes. So, yeah, I think it's all to play for. Obviously, you've got lots of Jan Howday as well, sitting 8th in the championship, looking to move his way through. Max Wiesel, he's 14th in the championship. He's, I think, was it 11 points or something like that? He's got a good chance if he just, if he was to win, he'd bump himself up to like 8th in the championship. So he's got a good chance of moving up today. So yeah, I think there's lots of drivers who have got very big opportunities, and there's also lots of drivers who could have a lot of weakness to their championship charge due to their qualifying.
Yeah, I'm just
Jack
looking.
and Mirko.
Yeah, and I'm just looking in the PSGL chat. Connor has given word times have been reinstated. So that means Szymon Lekomski is going to be starting in, I think, 12th position. That might even demote Mirko Soriano further down the order. And then Jona Martins is starting 16th in this
17th.
17th in this race. Okay, 17th in the Grand Prix, according to Tamas Gal. But yeah, should hopefully get this underway very soon. I think we're not going to have word from our sponsors just yet. We'll do that but as we're loading into the session. But Nathan, really excited for this race, and it always does make a bit of a it always does make for a fun one here in Belgium, even though there can be DRS trains. It's quite common around here. It is really entertaining to watch sometimes, especially when they're going 3 wide heading in towards Les Commons. It is so enjoyable to watch until they all just sandwich each other, spear off in towards the gravel. But let's hope we get none of that tonight.
And I think the unfortunate part is for Mirko Soriano, Szymon Lekomski was P12, so that pushes Mirko then to 13th now. So it's not going well at all. Last round he qualified, I think, 17th. This week he qualifies 13th. So
Not much better.
Not very good at all. But he has, I believe, got a new set of pedals, load cell. So obviously just getting used to them this week. And well, so far the performance hasn't been great. But obviously, there's I believe that, I don't actually know what the difference is, but I believe there is quite a big difference between a load cell pedal and a non-load cell pedal. So we'll just see what happens there for Mirko, and maybe throughout the race he can find his touch for it and start to work his way up the grid. We'll see what happens. I know I commentated a race last night, and Timo Zelenkiewicz, obviously a driver normally driving in Alpine, qualified 17th around Kotat because it was a track he wasn't very good at. Wasn't very good at. He didn't race at all. But then, once he got to the end of the race, he found his rhythm, he got himself back through the grid, and he ended up finishing in the top 10. So maybe Mirko can try and replicate that and get himself a decent result. I think Mirko, for once, it's unfortunate to say that for him, it's just points on the card, not a podium or a win.
Yeah, I mean, getting used to the load cell pedals is no joke. I know that, whenever someone gets load cell pedals, it always takes a knock to their pace, and it does take a lot of getting used to. I think it's just such a big change to what you have before with your basic pedals. So Mirko, he shouldn't really be on the pace this evening, and if he is able to get points, I would say that is a good result from him. But nevertheless, he is going to be aiming for the very best because he didn't have a good race last time out in Imola. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I really do hope that he does have a good race this evening. As for Jack West, he really did just get it wrong in qualifying. I mean, he was quick. He was purple in the second sector on a lap that he invalidated. I think it was his second run of the evening. And unfortunately, you know, it's no use if it's an invalid lap time. And unfortunately, he did that on his final run as well, which meant that he's starting all the way down in, I think, P11 in this Grand Prix. So with the two championship protagonists out of the top 10 for the start of this race, that is really going to give some advantage and some hope to the guys that are further down the order, knowing that the two big names in this season aren't starting at the front of the order.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Discord, and Jack was up by 2.5 tenths on his lap, so that would have put him P2. So that's even worse for him to swallow. But we've got 10 seconds left to go. Sylvie gets off for the Grand Prix. And another thing to talk about quickly before we get in is the Constructors' Battle. 0 points separating Ferrari and Aston Martin. Ferrari qualified, 13th and 17th. Aston Martin 2nd and 3rd. Well, I think if it goes the way of qualifying, I think it's very easier to say who will be championship leaders after this race.
Yeah, we're loading into the lobby now. We've got 22 laps around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit here in Belgium. We will join you trackside after a quick word from our sponsors at GT Omega. We will see you in just a quick moment's time. Welcome back, trackside here, everyone in PSGL waiting for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. It's nice, sunny, clear blue skies here in Belgium. Really looking forward to the start of this one, and I can't wait to get going.
Yeah, and we've just got to wait for the, the countdown that should be there to count to 0, and hopefully we can get the 5 lights out very shortly, as we're still waiting for players just to make sure they've got their setups and everything sorted, ready for the action.
Absolutely, and this is really the awkward stage, Nathan, where we just have to keep talking because we don't get the countdown anymore for whatever reason. I might try and tweet EA and try and fix that, but nevertheless, we're about to get ready here to go in Belgium. 5 red lights, and we are underway, and it looks to be a good start for Jan Halliday, who's going to try and charge against Max Wiesel, heading in towards turn 1. The Aston Martin going to look towards the outside. Max Wiesel going to be able to brake later and go for that move and keep the lead. Valentin Lulabella in behind, challenging Jan Halliday, because actually Joseph Loke getting himself up into P2. Apologies about that, but nevertheless, they're going to climb up the hill through Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time in this race. Joseph Loke with a great run on Max Wiesel. Here comes Valentin Lulabella as we're heading in towards the final part of this straight. Max Wiesel still leading. Here comes Lulabella around the outside of Jan Halliday and Joseph Loke. Joseph Loke's going to stay in P2. Max Wiesel off the circuit. In comes Joseph Loke in towards the second sector. Yellow flag. Szymon Lakomski out of this race. Safety car at the end of that one.
Yeah, 3 of them all round. Rishan, Daniel and Szymon Lakomski. And we've got safety car. And, well, looking at the tyres quickly, Max is the only one in the top 9 to be on the hards. Everyone else is on soft or medium. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Max gets eaten up now after the safety car goes in. I'm not sure what happened. I presume we'll get some very angry words from Szymon in the F2 chat in Discord, because it seems there that I don't know what happened, but it definitely didn't go his way. I believe it was Rishan. I don't know if Matthew was involved, but I know that Daniel Coe was involved as well down at the exit of the Lake chicane. But obviously everyone went in. There was about 7 or 8 of them, all separated 2-3 wide into that corner. So obviously someone was bound to come out there facing the wrong way in the wall, and unfortunately that was Lakomski, who we had that long wait for because of his lap being restated, but it doesn't matter anyway because he's out now. So big shame, and what could have been was, well, it could have been a decent point scoring for Szymon as he did in the last couple of rounds, but today it's nothing. And we have a full safety car, so we need to back all the pack up, and hopefully no one pits, because then that means our safety car will probably be in this next coming lap, which will be lap 3. No, the end of lap 2, starting lap 3. But Joseph takes the lead. Jack West up to P5. Perfect there from him.
Yeah, what a start from Jack West, as I think Tycho Hardy going to be the only driver, and Rashan Jacobs, Daniel Coyer, who presumably have damage coming in to the pit lane at the end of lap number 1. That's going to be pain for Daniel Coyer, for, you know, his teammate coming into the box. So have to double stack in behind, but looking at the position changes, it seems like most drivers are Jack West and Tamas Gell swap positions there for a moment. You can see them all on your screen. The biggest movers in this race are Chanakinchi and Jack West at the minute. Of course, Jack being on the softs is going to have much more grip than the drivers around him. However, that will die off very soon, but I think it's definitely going to help him quite a lot that the safety cars come out this early. Going to save a few laps of life on those softs, and hopefully he's going to be able to keep him going for a few extra, maybe swap onto a set of the mediums towards the end of the race. It'll be interesting to see what his strategy is following this Grand Prix. Soriano up 2 places as well. Sergio Sobrino's made some decent gains. Yono Martins up 4 places into 13th. And yeah, you can see all of them on your screen. Valentino Nabella and Camel Stacker are both losing 2 places. Daniel Coyer has lost a number as well. And it's very sad actually about Valentino, because he was all over the back of Joseph Loke heading in towards Lake Om, but he just wasn't able to make the most stick, and he got swallowed up by the pack.
Yeah, it would have been a great move. He obviously got up to P3, got round up the inside of Jan at turn 1, put himself into P3, then dropped back. But then again, they are on soft tyres, Jan, Tamas and Jack, so they should realistically be able to get themselves easily through on Valentino Labella, and obviously Camel Satcher as well, another driver who'll be looking to move his way up the grid at least ahead of the McLaren once the safety car goes in. Max Wiesel in second on the hard tyres. Obviously will lose a little bit of pace on this first initial stint, but obviously later in the race he will go to most likely a set of mediums, or maybe he goes a little bit longer and goes for a set of softs, so then that could put him at a good advantage when it comes to the final 5-6 laps of the race, and we'll see what he could do from there. But the main thing for Max is just to keep himself, if he can, ahead of the likes of Jan, Tamas and Jack, just not to lose positions to those soft runners. And obviously Joseph, his main aim will be hopefully for Max to keep behind Jan and Tamas, and he can obviously get his gap to over a second and push. I think that'll be Joseph's main aim. Obviously WR a couple weeks ago, Joseph did take pole in the wet, and then in the dry I'm sure he won by about 4 seconds, so he's got some very good pace around here. Obviously I would believe he's off here. IRL, obviously GB3 driver at the moment. I don't know what team for, but he's for one of the teams at least. So we'll see what he can do in this race. But Aston Martin, very good position. Championship leaders, drawn with Ferrari. Yeah, it's looking like it's written in the stars for them. And I've said that, and they're going to both end up DNFing next lap.
Well, of course, Joseph Loki's not scoring any points for Aston Martin. Filling in for Duncan Hoffland this evening, who's got a decent amount in that Aston Martin car. And Jan Halliday in recent weeks has definitely picked up the scraps as we're on to lap number 3. Normally at this point DRS would be enabled, but of course safety car conditions, and I definitely think Max Wiesel, Nathan, is going to be feeling very hard done by with the safety car coming out, because of course he was a second earlier he would have still been able to keep the lead of the Grand Prix, but he was just overtaken by Joseph Loke. Then the safety car gets called out and he's not able to overtake, so I think he's definitely going to feel a little bit hard done by the fact that he wasn't able to recontest for that position, especially in towards Bruxelles, where he can really use the outside momentum to try and make back the position. Then he'll have the inside line for the next left-hander at No Name. Definitely think he'll have a chip on his shoulder. He's got the longer lasting tyres, of course, strapped onto that Mercedes of the hards, but on the safety car restart he has got to do his best to keep with Joseph Loke and stop him from romping away with this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think the race will be quite interesting. Obviously we've got everyone on all set of tyres, so we've got medium, softs and hards all being used at this initial start of the race. Obviously some people might go for a medium soft, some might go medium hard, some might go soft hard, soft medium. I think every single strategy that could be possible in this race will most likely be done by at least one driver. So we'll see what happens with that, and I think maybe this starting on the hards might work. So you might see the likes of Yannick Schmidt and Mirko bump up into the top 5 later on. We don't know what could happen. So yeah, I think strategy is going to be the key thing today, more than outright pace.
We'll wait and see how this race develops. We should get the safety car in at the end of this lap, at the minimum 2 laps, and then once everyone is stacked up we'll be able to get going, and I think we are more than ready to restart this Grand Prix. No more cars stranded along the circuit, everyone's repaired their damages. Normally when we head into sector number 3, which is just at the end of this just in the middle of this corner, there we go, safety car in at this lap. It'll be Joseph Loke controlling the pace. It's his discretion, he will control the start. Max Wiesel got to do his best to keep all the soft runners of Jan Halliday, Tamas Gao and Jack West in behind him. And even though it says they've got 2 laps of wear, Nathan, essentially those are completely fresh softs.
Yeah, because the safety car, you literally you might get 1% of wear over those 2 laps, because obviously you're not pushing them at all. You're going like 60, 70, 80 miles an hour the whole way. So yeah, that's good for these soft tyre runners that can take it a little bit longer and then maybe stretch onto a set of mediums at the end of the race. And obviously the medium runners, they can maybe stretch onto a set of soft. So we'll see Either works out, but Joseph will be leading the pack, obviously on the medium tyre, so should get a nice run away from Max Wiesel down in towards, well, it depends where it's going. He could go now, get a run in towards the final corner, or go at the start-finish straight and put himself ahead in towards that first corner. So we'll see what he can do, but I think Joseph, it seems like at the moment he might go for it, I think, out of that final corner at the bus-stop chicane.
See what happens then as Joseph Float, once he goes, he's got to go. No more starting and stopping for him, and I'm sure he knows that rule very well. There it is, foot flat, never mind, foot gonna go flat. Once he gets to the line, we are restarted here in Belgium, and once again Joseph Float off like a shot. Max Wiesel not going to be able to contest that heading in towards turn number 1. It is imperative for these guys in behind to make up positions early, as now Jack West shoving out Camel Sashera onto the sausage curve. He's going to have to take to that little escape road and get ahead, or get back onto the circuit. Remaining in P6, we climb up through Eau Rouge and Rayon for the 4th time in this Grand Prix, 2nd time at full speed. We're right on board with Max Wiesel, who's all over the back of Joseph Float, but he'll have to look in his mirrors at Jan Halliday, as well as now in towards Lecom. Will Max Wiesel go around the outside? It just doesn't look like he's going to be able to, as Joseph Float defended that inside very well. In towards now the second sector, very technical part of the circuit. Sergio Sabrino getting himself ahead of Mirko Soriano. There's Jan Halliday to the outside of Max Wiesel at Bruxelles. Will he have the inside for No Name Corner? It doesn't look like he's going to be able to make the move now, but Joseph Float, Nathan, he's off like a shot. He's leading this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and also we can see Jan trying to get through, and Max can't do so. This is very good for Joseph because he can start to edge that gap out, so hopefully for him over a second within the next 2 laps. You can see Jan trying to get a move, but with the way this track is, it's very difficult to overtake, and Max can defend it perfectly, even though he's got very slow as you can see. Jan got a lot more pace all over the back of him, but just can't get through, so hopefully for Jan he can burn a bit of battery down in towards either the bus-stop chicane or down in towards Lecom on the next lap, and we'll see if he can put himself into P2, because he needs to dispatch Max Wiesel very quickly, because then he'll start, if he doesn't, he'll start to have the likes of Tamas Gal, Jack West all on his rear as he comes through now, and you can see Jack West actually looking for possibly a move onto Tamas Gal. Then in towards the bus-stop chicane, he's got a better line. Look at this from Jack West. He's going to go round the outside in towards the bus-stop chicane. Can he make it work? Because then Jack's got to break earlier, because bit of tap there from Jan Halliday, and they're going 3 wide into the final quarter. Someone's going to come into that badly, and it will be Jack West back down to P5. Jan stays in P3, and there you can see them all going down into turn 1. Jack West with the inside line. Can he push it? Throwing Tamas Gal. He's got the better line, better grip in towards that corner. Pushes Tamas a little bit wide. Tamas nearly goes off track, but he does keep it on the good side of that sausage curb, and now Jack West into the top 4.
Yep, a little bit hairy there in the final few corners. It just looked like it was a silly bit of contact between the 3 of them there, but they've all come out relatively unscathed. Now Jack West going to continue his charge up the order, because he's all over the back of Jan Halliday heading in towards the Lecom chicane. He's going to utilise some of that battery to go up the inside in towards here. Will Jan Halliday put up much of a fight? It doesn't look like it now. Jack West, from starting outside the top 10 in 11th position, finds himself onto the podium places. What a start from him. He is now the leading soft runner, the championship leader on a charge this evening. His championship rival Soriano, he managed to get himself up the order ever so slightly, almost into the top 10, but ever since he's just been sinking down the order back into 13th position. It has not been a good race for Mirko Soriano whatsoever, and it looks like at the top of the standings that gap is just going to get bigger and bigger between the pair of them.
It is, and it all looks like the gap between Joseph and Mirko smaller and smaller, because you can see Joseph currently in P1 leading by 7 tenths to Max Wiesel. He's got a couple of tenths to go till he can get himself to a second ahead of the Mercedes, which is what he definitely wants, and which would be great for him, just to try and pull away then at that point and not worry about everyone behind, all closing back in. As you can see, Ben Shabakonyi there very close to the back of Camel Sasha. Obviously on the medium tyres they should start to come into force in around 3-4 laps time. They'll obviously have better pace than the soft tyres, so at the moment you need the likes of Jack West to get through on Max, and even Joseph he can very quickly before that advantage dies off. Through towards the final corner, you can see Ben Shabakonyi obviously technically out of this pack of 5 the lead of the medium runners, as the DRS has now been enabled, so we'll see possibly some overtakes in towards Lecom. Obviously you can see Joseph Float 4 tenths ahead of Max Wiesel. Maybe Max will fancy a move in towards Lecom to put himself into that P1 position. As you can see, Mirko Soriano having a little battle down further with Tycho Hardy, loses the position. Go from bad to worse for Mirko Soriano, isn't it?
Really not been his day at all, and he's really struggled these last 2 weeks. He'll try and make a move heading in towards Lecom. We'll see if that works out for him. We'll check in on Max Wiesel at the front of the order, who's going to go up the inside to take the lead of the Grand Prix. Joseph Float really saw no defence in that, and that is fair enough, because just the difference in top speed that the DRS and ERS combination makes in towards Lecom, it is insurmountable. As now we'll look at Joost Noordijk as well, who's closing to the rear of Ben Jabberconi up ahead. This is the fight of the medium runners as Daniel Coyer and Chanakinchi scrapping for P15 in this Grand Prix. It looks like DRS has definitely invited some drivers to go for a move, but on the whole, of course, I think the DRS train will begin to form on lap number 6 of 22, where we're finally going to get our first taste of it down that straight and also in towards turn number 1. But typically, Nathan, drivers, they don't want to make a move in through there because then they'll give up that DRS down the Kemmel straight. And of course, that is just, that's just disastrous for you.
I think one driver is looking to make a move on. Someone is Daniel Coyer on Mirko Soriano. Obviously, one Alfa Romeo Tiger Hardy's got through, and it's the second Alfa Romeo sitting right behind. 3 Ferrari engine cars coming through. And Mirko, it seems he's losing time in the braking zones. I've just been watching, his delta does seem to go a little bit more up when he goes in towards those braking zones. So that obviously is evidence that his slow cell pedals, he isn't quite comfortable with them yet. Obviously, low cell pedals could be quicker for some drivers, could be slower for others, maybe. It doesn't work for Mirko Soriano. Obviously, he'll be able to evaluate this over the next few races in PSGL and other leagues, so we'll see what the verdict is for that, but so far it doesn't seem to be working too strongly for him. As Ben Jabberconi goes for a move there, we missed that one on Camel Sasha up the inside into turn 1 now. The medium tyres for Bench at least are working very well. Now that could be a sign that the soft tyres are dying, or maybe Camel hasn't got that pace to keep up with Red Bull, but he has got a good run coming out of Eau Rouge and Radion. He's got the ERS, he wants to get back ahead at the medium runner, down in towards the Lake Camel. See, does Joseph float out? Yes, he does. Joseph into P1, and can Jack West gain? No, he can't. As you can see, everyone fighting all the way through. You can see there, Camel being overtaken by Joost Ulrich, or at least Joost attempted it, through towards Lacombe, has a big slide, has to back out of that one, and you can see Camel still fighting to get himself back ahead of Bench, but this time it's not possible. So there, was a very good overtake possibility from Joost, but obviously good defending from Camel, and it keeps him back for now. But you can see now these medium tyres at least are quicker than Camel Sashara.
Not really sure Joost Noordijk was left enough room off the exit of the the mid part of the Lacombe chicane on that left-hander portion, and then Joost gives a little shove to Camel through Bruxelles. I think he's getting very frustrated behind the AlphaTauri, and he's going to go for a move in towards left hand. You never see an overtake through there. They have a little bit of contact between the pair of them, and Joost Noordijk really just getting impatient sitting behind Camel because he knows he's faster, but Camel's really just parking his car in the middle of the road, not allowing for him to go for the move, and he's lost so much time. He's purple in Sector 1, and now in Sector 2 he's down almost 7/10 on his best lap so far in this Grand Prix. He has an opportunity potentially to go for it in towards the bus stop chicane. We'll see what Joost Noordijk opts to do as he's closing to the rear of the AlphaTauri. Would he go for a late lunge up the inside? He'll definitely brake later, but try and get a better run in through here, as now we've got a pit stop coming out, a few pit stops actually coming out, and interestingly enough, Joost is one of them on the medium tyres. A very early stop for him, as Tycho Hardy's the first driver with penalties in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, that is a very early stop. I'm just going to keep on board him for a second to see if he's got damage as he heads into the pits. But yeah, that is a very early pit stop for Joost. Maybe onto a set of hards. Yeah, it is onto a set. So just a normal pit stop there. So yeah, that's very early, but we'll see if that can work for him as Daniel Coyer gets himself ahead of Mirko Soriano. But Mirko has got the DRS down towards Lacombe. We'll see if he can get a pass back as Max Wiesel yet again takes the lead from Joseph Loeb. These two working together just to swap positions and not lose time. You can see now a little bit of a battle forming. Tiger Hardy getting ahead of Sergio Sabrina, then he got a little bit behind. You can see Daniel Coyer trying to get ahead of Yannick Schmidt, obviously on the hard tyres for Yannick and the mediums for Daniel at the moment. These medium tyres look like the strongest. Inside line in towards the Bruxelles corner, and they have big sides, both of them side. Yannick goes off track barely. That allows Mirko to go for a move. Mirko actually has to back out because Yannick rejoined the track, and he's there down to P30. You could see Rishan also, I think, went for a move on Mirko, because you could see the avatar Mirko just putting his hand up out of the car saying to someone, "What are you doing?" So he's now down to P13 and struggling more and more on these hard compounded tyres. It seems at the moment the only one comfortable on the hards is Max Wiesel, who's leading.
Wiesel's doing a great job in this race as now Rishan Jacobs on the inside of Mirko Soriano through La Fenias. That's the second time in the space of 2 laps that a driver's gone for a move in towards that short SS section. Now he'll get a better run than Mirko Soriano in through Stavelot, and he's going to make that move very easily through Paul Frere, and once again that's another position lost for Mirko Soriano. He's now in the negative in this Grand Prix. Joseph Loeb up the outside in towards the bus stop chicane. He'll switch it back to the inside through there, but he decided to back out for that move. I think he is indeed coming into the pit lane at the end of lap number 7. Once again, a very early stop, I'd say, for the medium runners, considering that there are still soft compounds of tyres that have been on since the start of the Grand Prix on circuit. Jack West and Jan Halliday staying out for at least one more lap on their set of the softs. 8 lap old at this point. They're definitely going to be dying out completely at this point. But I'd say still it is an early time to pit for the medium runners. They'll be all going on to the hard compound tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix. They'll definitely make it towards the last few laps as well.
Mirko and Chan went side by side into our Rouge, and Mirko nearly lost it.
Right.
Sorry about that one for cutting you off, but that was... that could have ended for me. Mirko, yeah, again, locking the rears constantly. Every corner he's locking the rears, especially towards someone. He had a massive issue with the brakes, so not good at all for Mirko. But Joseph, there's 3 wide in towards Lacombe.
Oh, wow, Joseph Loke trying to hold on to the net leader this Grand Prix. Joost Noordijk around the outside. He's going to make that move stick. He will be your net race leader now because he's got himself ahead of Joseph Loke. But Loke does have the fresher tyres. Once they are up to temperature, he will have a slight grip advantage in comparison to Joost and Tamas around him. Ben Jabrakoni and Camel Stackera also have come into the pit lane in behind. We'll see what Stackera is able to do on a set of the medium tyres. Could go to the end. I think it's going to be touch and go as to whether he's going to have enough grip to really be able to take the fight to drivers around him at the end of the Grand Prix. Definitely should be able to make it without a puncture, but at this point of the race will be very fast. He'll be challenging the likes of Bench and Tamas and Joseph for the next few laps. But once everyone else comes into the pit lane, the DRS train begins to form once again. It'll be very hard to make the moves as Max Vettel on the back of Jack West, who made the move in towards the Lacombe chicane. I think Jack is going to think about coming into the pit lane. Indeed he will. Jan Halliday though staying out another lap here.
Yeah, Jonna Martin's another driver to talk about. Went from being at the back of the... There's 2 people going on the track a little bit further back. That was Yannick and... no, it was Chan and Rishan, the 2 teammates of Alpine. But as I was talking about Jonna Martin's... Actually, Rishan's going to send it up the inside. Rishan, very aggressive driver, pushes Chan off track. But maybe... I can actually speak about Yoda, who went from being at the back of the medium runners to the front of the medium runners. So he's had a good job as now. Chan and Rishan go side by side into our Rouge. Rishan keeps himself ahead. And yet again, Chan very pulsing towards that corner. And there's so many things happening. You can't talk about anyone as Jan Halliday now takes the lead from Max Wiesel towards Lacombe. And Jonna Martin sitting right behind Max Wiesel. And now you either think, well, this hasn't worked for Max or Jan, or it's worked heavily for Jonna Martins.
Looking at the back of the pack now as well, because they're fighting for the net race lead of this Grand Prix. Joseph Loke on the rear of Joost Noordijk heading in towards Lacombe. Will the Aston Martin make the move stick as they come into picture at the end of that chicane? Indeed he will. He'll get himself ahead into the net race lead of this Grand Prix. Joost Noordijk will remain in P2. We also saw Camel Stackera get ahead of Ben Jabrakoni, and crucially Jack West has come into this pack with 2 lap fresher tyres than those around him, and he's able to get himself ahead of Ben Jabrakoni, so he's really survived that undercut from everyone else. I think Jan Halliday will be in a similar situation, but this is the fight for the lead of the Grand Prix. Once all the pit stops are said and done, Joseph Loke back into the lead.
Yeah, and the worst thing for Jack West is he's come out behind this train. All on hard runners apart from Camel, so he's got a lot of work to do to work his way through this pack. As we head through towards Savile with Jack West, you can see using a lot of curve, pushing a lot to get himself ahead of Camel through curve of Paul Frere now. You can see gaining a lot using that battery, trying to put himself ahead of Camel, but you can see Camel just responds by now going for a move on Tamas Gal in towards Blanchimon, a little bit too further back for now. We'll look for it possibly in towards the bus stop chicane. You can see flashing for Tamas Gal, used all his battery. You can see now Camel Stacker up the inside in towards the bus stop chicane, puts himself ahead of the Red Bull, and now you can see these medium tyres working well for Stacker. Could this be the strategy to work? Because he's already on the back of Jan Snodder, because you can see Van Bella, Yannick Schmidt, Jan Halliday all into the pits onto a set of mediums for Jan, and then obviously a set of hards for Valentino and a set of mediums for Yannick Schmidt. So lots of different strategies still working. And at the moment it is going to be Jonna Martins taking the lead in towards Lacombe. So 17th to 1st for Jonna, working well this strategy as Channa Kinchi gets past his teammates. Christian Jacobs in towards Lacombe. Lots of battles fighting for the lead, lots of battles fighting for the lead on track. There's a lot going on, so it's just trying to find out who's actually in the best position. As Yassil trying to get into the back of Joseph Loke, but not enough to make an overtake. As Camel, you can see very close to the back of these 2.
I really don't know where to look at this point in the Grand Prix. We're on lap number 11 of 22. We're coming up to the halfway point of this race. It's really just 2 races at this point, because we've got the guys that are pitted and the drivers that are still yet to come into boxes. Now we can see Jack West is up the inside of Camel Stackera and will be able to overtake the AlphaTauri on the medium tyres, who I think just hasn't really had the pace to be able to get himself through Joseph Loke and Joost Noordijk. And now the 3J's going to be fighting it out as Daniel Coy. That's his 2nd incident of this evening. He's off through Lafanias, I believe that is. Something's happened between himself and I don't know who it was. It might have been Rishan Jacobs, Mirko, or Matthew Alder. Something's happened there. Nevertheless, he's off the track. I think it was Rishan, because he was right next to Channa Kinchi. Now all of a sudden he's way off the pace. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, he's right behind him. Into what I'm reading the timing screen wrong, but yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there between Daniel Coyer and anyone else on this grid. Nevertheless, though, as they head in towards the bus stop chicane, more pit stops coming out. Daniel Coyer, incident number 2 this evening for him.
Yeah, and surprisingly, Yoda and Sergio are still staying out along with Rishan. I thought the mediums would have pitted by now. I thought the hards maybe can make maybe a couple more laps, but I thought by now the medium drives would have pitted. As you can see them all coming into the pits, all medium tyres for Mirko Chan and Tiger Hardy. Joseph Loke still in the provisional lead of the race. He's in P7 on track. He's got Jack West and Yost all up behind. You can see Yost looking for looking for a move on Yost to put himself into that provisional second spot on track. As you can see, they're using his battery. Got a better run out of the over his Radion corner. You can see gaining. He's got some slipstream. He's got the DO. As you can see also, Yost in order looking for a lead in towards Lake Arm. Yost does take the lead. Jack has to sit behind in third. Still can't put himself ahead, and that's the issue sometimes with being in third. The driver in second can just overtake the driver in first, and then you're stuck where you are. But you can see Jack, lots of pace down towards Bruxelles. Not going to look for a move just yet on Joseph Loke, but you can see the medium size so far are quicker. But the thing is, he's got to get himself ahead now, because eventually the mediums probably will be slower than the hards near the end of the race.
Well, the medium tyres are definitely going to be working best in this middle sector, where you're able to utilise those slow speed corners and get the power down as early as possible. That is when Jack West needs to strike. If he waits for the DRS straight, he won't be able to get ahead of his rivals. So Jack, he really does need to get a move on here. We'll see what he can do, as he's now in 9th position at the minute. This is a net P3 for him. He's done an amazing job of making it up the order. He's got the fastest lap as well, so that is an extra point added onto his race time. But we'll just have to wait and see what he does, because Joost Noordijk and Joseph Loke, they're able to slipstream off each other, swap around positions, as now Jana Haladej gets by on bench Jabberconny. These guys behind have lost touch with the top three at this point, as now Max Wiesel and Sergio Sobrino coming into the pit lane. Jona Martin still staying out on track, as is Rishan Jacobs. So a lot of these medium runners, well, just two of those medium runners staying on this set. It's a very interesting call, but on lap number 13, they've done over half the Grand Prix on this same set. I'm just wondering, they've got to go for the softs at this point.
Yeah, surely. There's no way you're going to go for the hards now. The only thing that they've got to go soft. I think with Jonah, he's 10-ish seconds ahead of Joseph, so he's going to come out pretty much P15, 16. So he's going to have to work his way up, but he'll be on the soft, so he'll be a lot quicker. As now we can see Jack West burning his battery, looking for an outside line. Joseph looked to take second in this Grand Prix, but you can see the Haas of Yost just blocking Jack into that corner, so then Joseph could just stick it back up the inside and put himself back in towards that provisional P2 spot. And you can see they're closing ever closer to the top three, obviously, who all haven't pitted. You can see now Jan Halliday on the mediums, close to the back of Camel Sasha. Camel pitted two laps earlier. Then Jans obviously will be a little bit slow with the tyres because of the obviously having more tyre wear on those mediums compared to Jan as we head through towards P1. You can see them all within 2 or 3 tenths of each of the P1 down to P5. Jan there burning a lot of battery, looking for him possibly in towards Lafania. Bit of contact between Camel and Jan as Camel defended very late in towards the exit of P1, and now Jan's still stuck in that provisional P5 position as we come through out of that corner in towards Stavelo now, and you can see also Jack West gaining very quickly onto the back of Joseph Loke. Joost Noordijk still provisional leader of the race, about 10 seconds ahead of Yoda Martins, who surely should be heading to the pits either this lap or next lap. He's got a 10-second lead over the provisional leader, so obviously will come out quite further down. As you can see Jan Halliday up the inside into Bunchemont, puts himself into P7, as now we can see Joost Noordijk gaining. Joseph Loke gaining on Joost Noordijk in towards Bus K. Not enough space to get through, but Joost does have a big slide into there, so does start to lose a little bit of time. You can see Jack West also gaining on the back of Joseph.
See what happens then heading in towards turn number 1. Jona Martin staying up for an extra lap here. Rishan Jacobs and Matthew Alder will be coming into the pits as Yannick Schmidt sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Let's have a look.
Jan Halliday!
Jan Halliday! Oh, what's happened there? Jan Halliday! Something. What?
He's spun.
Why?
How? I don't know. He must have had contact because Camel's a second back.
Yeah, something must happen between the pair of them, because Camel Stash has lost a lot of ground to this top three, who are now fighting, heading in towards the Camel Straight. Jack West going to soar into the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of Joseph Loke. Joost Noordijk defenseless. Really a sitting duck heading in towards turn number, whatever that is, I think turn number 4 at the Camel Straight. And Camel Stasher has now been overtaken by Ben Jabberconny, so definitely something's happened there between Camel and Jana Haladej. That would have been a heart-and-mouth moment for the Aston Martin, I think. I mean, Jan's got a lot of passionate fans in the live chat currently, and that'll definitely be a downer on their day. Jan Haladej sent tumbling down the order. He will sit in P12 at this point, ahead of Sergio Sobrino, but it's looking like points are unlikely for him now.
Yeah, he's going to push heavily if he wants to get points. You can see Max Wiesel there looking for a move on Valentino Labella. Obviously pitted last lap. His first lap on these medium tyres. You can see a lot more pace than the likes of these hards. In towards Stavelo. You can see just trying to make a way through. Can't get through yet on the McLaren as they come out of Stavalo and towards Curve de Paul Freire. You can see gaining a lot now. Max Wiesel on the back of the McLaren and the Red Bull as well of Tamas Gal, who's on 6th lap on hard, so will be a lot slower than the likes of Max and Tycho and Yannick, who are all gaining now on this little pack as we come through. Jonas Martins into the pit lane finally after 13 laps on those mediums. We'll go into a set of softs. As you can see, Labella looking for Bill Tamas Gal. Tamas defends, Tamas breaks later. They make contact to Ethan Camel and Tamas rounds in towards the bus stop chicane, and they come tumbling down the order. Max Wiesel gets sent off track by Valentin Labella, and that was a very dirty couple of corners there from many drivers.
That was ridiculous. I mean, that shouldn't be happening at any level of league racing. I think what's happened there, Tamas Gal's seen the threat that Valentino Labella had. Valentino backed out of the move. Then all of a sudden, he's braking later and just plain goes into the side of Camel Stashra. Camel, I think, at no fault there whatsoever, and that is ridiculous stuff. And we talk about oh come on, man. Are you serious? Tycho Hardy, I mean, I'm sorry there for that little lash out there, but Tycho Hardy's almost just swiped Valentino Labella heading down the Kemmel straight. That was on the straight there that Valentino Labella has now lost, what, 2-3 places for? I mean, it's getting ridiculous. Lap number 15, we're on race number 8 of this season, and Nathan, I can recall one Grand Prix which was clean, and that was Imola last week. And we're seeing it again, the same issues that are happening that are so avoidable here.
Yeah, the one with Tamas, break word to it, but there, with Tycho, there's no words. There's no way he could have made a mistake. It was the fact he just wasn't looking, and I thought he would have learnt from challengers, but I guess not. There's no words to describe how, well, it's disappointing, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, I thought that it was, getting cleaner after Imola. Well, we've gone back to our old ways, it seems, here in F2, but enough of that. Battle for the lead still. Ben Chabaconyi in P4, looking for a move on Jos Nordo, because Sergio Sabrino gets himself ahead now of the injured Valentino Labella, who's down to P9 in towards the bus stop chicane. Please don't take him out this time, Bence. In towards there. They make it through cleanly. Still, Jack West takes the lead. Joseph Loke in second, Joe Sordike in third, and then Ben Chabaconyi in the top 5 along with Tycho Hardy and Max Wiesel on very brand new mediums. Will be looking to pressure onto these older hard tyres. As you can see, they're going to start being a lot more wounded than the likes of these new mediums. And also Jonas Martins into P13 ahead of Camel Slasher. He'll be looking to move himself up into hopefully the point. Starting in P17, so at the moment being in P13 is still an upgrade no matter what, but we'll see what he can do. As you can see, a lot of pace now from Jonas Martins, already within 3-4 tenths of Chana Kinchi, but back to the front. I can see Yasundok gaining a lot. Can he get himself ahead of Joseph Loke? No, he can't. He sticks, actually, no, he decides to stick back, so he lifts off into that corner.
Yeah. I mean, Jos Nordyke, smart of him, I think, for the time being, just to hang back, save the tyres, try and conserve some of his resources. I've turned on the telemetry so you can see at the bottom of your screen, Jack West has 56% battery in the back of his McLaren. Joseph Loke's got 84%. Jos Nordyke only 25, so he really does need to just stick behind, try and conserve as much energy as he can, because this race is far from over. It's only lap number 16 of 22. Next time by, it's going to be 6 laps to go, and around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit, that is a long lap. As we'll have a look at Tycho Hardy, who's all over the back of Ben Chabaconyi, who's struggling for pace at this point. He can't really keep up with the leaders. He's still keeping touch with Jos Nordyke, Joseph Loke and Jack West, but it is only a matter of time before these medium runners are able to get on by. As Tycho Hardy definitely hasn't been averse to controversy so far in this Grand Prix. We'll see what he can do as he closes in towards the bus stop chicane. Will the Alfa Romeo got the inside? He'll have to look the long way round as Ben Chabaconyi defends that inside. How is Tycho going to navigate this? He'll go around the outside. He'll make the move stick. Not really anything Bench could do there. And I think it's imperative that he just defends as much as he can from Max Wiesel rather than go back for the move heading in towards turn number 1. Chabaconyi up the inside heading in towards the first corner at the source and now off the exit. What are they going to do through here? Will they run side by side through Eau Rouge and Radion? I'm fearing that's what's going to happen. It looks like that Tycho Hardy's just got the edge for the time being, but now up the hill and through Radion, he can see that Tycho Hardy is low on the battery, so Bench could just use the battery, cruise on by, sit in the slipstream of Jos Nordyke up ahead of him, and Ben Chabaconyi has been able to defend that position. Tycho Hardy will have to spend another lap looking at that Red Bull rear wing.
Jonas Martins, last lap was 5 for P13, he's now in the top 9. He's on absolute fire. This pace from Jonas is incredible. He's got these brand new softs that are working to his advantage heavily. Jonas is going to be on for a top 5 at this point. He's made this work so well, and maybe that's also an advantage of being an engineer, and also obviously I presume engineered Nico and Barry last night, so he'll obviously know what strategy works best. As Sergio also on these brand new softs, looking to get himself ahead of his teammate Yannick Schmidt. In towards Lefania. Can't get through just yet. He'll have to send it. It does send it up the inside. This could be close. We go through there. And then Yannick has the inside on the exit of the chicane. They make a little bit of slight contact. Nearly off track for Sergio Sabrino. Makes Yona Martins get a little bit closer. In towards Sevlo. Then into Curve Le Paul Frere. Yona is going to look to get himself on maybe one of the wins or maybe even two of them as we head through. Down in towards the bus stop chicane, you can also see Max Wiesel gaining as well, and Sergio Sabrino getting ahead of his teammate. I think Yannick pretty much let him through because he knows that his teammate will be quick, and yeah, you can see Yona Martins is gaining. He's not going to use any battery. He's got 50% to his advantage, and you can see Yannick Schmidt basically let him through. Yona Martins goes for two, and in towards the bus stop chicane. He's going to go around the outside. Sergio Sabrino, Sergio pushing him off track slightly. Bit of contact into turn one, and Yona Martins, he's not messing around.
Oh, I'm not liking this whatsoever, but up the inside, there's Yona Martins going to be able to make the move stick through La Source. Sergio Sabrino defended that position very heavily on the back of the Ferrari, who has 2 lap fresher soft tyres, which makes such a huge difference at this point in the Grand Prix. Yona Martins now into 7th place, just behind Max Wiesel, who is looking to try and make a move on Tycho Hardy. He's got 1 lap fresher mediums in comparison to the Alfa Romeo. Tycho's losing the slipstream on Ben Shabakon. He defends to the inside line, and Max Wiesel will go up the inside, and he will be able to make himself a threat in this race, get himself into that top 5, still within touching distance of that P1 spot. Jack West, he's been able to keep the lead for most of this Grand Prix, but he's not been able to stretch the gap. Have a look at the ERS situation, 67% for the McLaren, 100% for Joseph Loke. Joost Noordijk's been able to save a little bit. Ben Shabakoni's plenty. Max Wiesel only on 30% as now Rishan Jacobs gets a time penalty all the way down in 14th. That's not really going to change the complexion of this race. Max Wiesel's not done there now, Nathan, because all of a sudden he's all over the back of Bentz.
Yeah, and I'm on board with Yona Martins, and it is the hunting ground now for the Ferrari. You can see they're all ahead, 6 of them, all slower than him, 1 of them with penalties. So he's already looking for at least a P6, as long as he doesn't make mistakes. But you can see Max Wiesel looking to get himself ahead of Ben Shabakoni as Yona Martins pulls to the outside of Tycho Hardy. That is the inside. In towards Blanchimont. Tycho's going to try and hold it. Surely he can't at this rate. He's going to try and hold it, but he can't. Yoda, a lot more grip through there. Puts himself into P6 now. You can see Ben Shabakoni getting closer. That's a tap there from Joseph Loke onto Joost Noordijk. He now drops down to P4. And then we got Yona Martins looking for 2. Max Wiesel looking for an outside manoeuvre on Joost Noordijk into turn 1. I don't think it's enough. No, it's not. And Yona Martins then looking to take 2. In towards turn 1, you can see there braking later is Max Wiesel. And then Joost Noordijk gets cut off there by Ben Shabakoni, who's a little bit ahead up the road. And now Max looking to go side by side with the hard runner. Can't do so just yet. And obviously Max on these medium tyres will have a lot more pace, along with Yona, along with Tycho, along with Sergio Sabrino and Mirko Soriano into the top 10 as we head down now. The Kemmel straight in towards Lake Om. There could be a few position swaps here, as you can see. Joseph Loke that's Ben Shabakoni gaining on Joseph Loke. We've got Max gaining on Joost Noordijk, but not enough into Lake Om, and Yona Martins nearly takes out Max Wiesel. So you can see he's braking that much later because he's got such better tyres than that someone, and that's Chanakinchi.
Oh my word, I mean, I'm scared through every single corner that a move is touted up as now Camel Stasher gets a time penalty. There's Yona Martins up the inside of Max Wiesel in towards No Name Corner. What a move there from the Dutchman. He's found himself in the top 5, and he has a very real chance of winning this race from all the way down in 17th position. He's made up 12 spots in this Grand Prix, and I think he's going to be very thankful for all the incidences that has kept everyone, from getting away in this race and making use of that undercut where Yona was not able to recover it. That's not happened here, because now he's all over the back of Joost Noordijk, who was fighting for the win at one point in this race. Yona Martins now trying to go for a move on his fellow countryman. Will he try and send it in towards the bus stop chicane? I think it's smart to just wait back for the time being. But it is only, he's only got 3 laps to do it. So lap 20 this time by. Jack West still leading. Joseph Loke all over the rear of him. A little bit of controversy, it seems like, from him and Joost Noordijk, as now Joost has been sent down the order ever so slightly. It's a good thing that he's recovered to P4. But now lap number 20 of 22. We're coming in to the last few stages of this race. Jack West has led the majority of this second stint. Joseph Loke has sat in second. Now Ben Shabakoni as well. Out of nowhere, it seems. He's up 5 places in this Grand Prix. More moves being made further back behind. We'll see what happens heading up through in towards Lake Om.
Yeah, so battery-wise, Jack West is on 70, Joseph on 95, Bent's on 25, Joost on 16, and Yona on 38%. In towards Lake Om, you can see Joseph Loke to the inside, gets himself briefly ahead. Ben Shabakoni has to back out. That one is also Yona Martins. Oh, and there's contact a little bit, nearly sends. Ben Shabakoni ready, gets ahead of Joost Noordijk, barely in towards this next corner, and Jonah Martins is a lot quicker, but the issue is being used to braking later, and other drivers aren't used to it. As Max Feast up the inside, and Jos Nordijk in towards, I think that was Malmedy corner, and now Jonah Martins very close to a podium position. He's P4, 2/10 up ahead. Is Ben Sabacon, who's on 11 lap hold. Hard ties, we'll see now. Jonah Martins has got to get himself ahead very quickly if he wants to get himself into a podium position. He's got the better run in towards the Fanion chicane. Can he get himself ahead here? No, he can't. He has to sit back. For now, as you can also see, Jack West right on the back of Joseph Float. Remember, these two at the moment are fighting for the championship, so this is a big battle between the top two. It's also a big battle between Bench and Jonah, who are looking for their first podiums here this season.
See what Jonah Martins can do. Those softs are going to begin to die out very soon. 5 laps on this set. However, he's definitely going to be able to get to the end with some decent pace in hand. He's got much fresher tyres than the 3 drivers ahead of him. Heading in towards now the bus stop chicane for the 20th time in this race. Tycho Hardy's up the inside of Jos Nordijk. There's Jonah Martins making the move on Ben Abercrombie. You have to go the long way around through the second part of the bus stop chicane. They're on side by side heading in towards turn number 1. Ben Abercrombie really has no defence on that overtake. And now Jonah Martins in the podium positions on lap number 21. What will he do? Following in behind Jack West and Joseph Lowe as they approach Eau Rouge and Radion for the penultimate time in this race. Jos Nordijk beginning to slip down the order because now Mirko Soriano's found himself in a top 10 position. Jos down into 8th place. It's just been a disastrous day for the Haasman so far. Here's Jack West up the inside, heading in towards this chicane in through here. The name once again has slipped my mind, but the lead has been retaken by the McLaren. Joseph Loke in behind, Jonah Martins sitting in 3rd.
Yep, Jonah Martins now looking to gain closer and closer. Can he get himself a move? You can see people battling further behind, but this is the main battle to watch for P1, 2 and 3, even P4, because you can see Benjamin McConney's been sitting right on the back of Jonah Martins down that whole straight. Now, the gap between Jack and Joseph is about 3 tenths. The gap between Joseph and Jonah is about 2.5 tenths, so closer between Joseph and Jonah as we come through in towards P1. You can see the gap's 3.5 tenths. You can see now Joseph's getting very close to the back of Jack West, and normally the person in P2 is most likely the one to win it, especially because they've got that slipstream DRS, that ERS. But Jonah Martins, with that grip advantage, as well as having the DRS advantage over Jack, he could also be looking to take the lead in towards the Lake chicane. And if you got the lead there, you're most likely going to keep it for the rest of the lap. So we come down now to the final lap of this race, coming through, and in about 30 seconds time, we'll begin the final lap of this race. You can see Jonah, could he go for a move? He could, because he's gaining quickly in towards the bus stop chicane. He's got the outside line. You can see Jack backing off. Jonah Martins in towards this bus stop chicane. He's going to try and take 2nd place from Joseph Loke up the inside. And Jonah Martins into P2, and now he's in a good position, but Joseph Loke is going to try and fight it back in towards turn 1.
Here they go then, Jack West backing off, doesn't want to lead this race, but Joseph Loke and Jonah Martins, they didn't want to overtake him in the bus stop chicane. That's stacked up the grid, heading in towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the final time in this race. Jonah Martins from 17th on the grid is on the cusp of taking victory here in Belgium. He's got nothing in the battery, but he'll have the DRS, he'll have the slipstream through the Camel Straight for the final time. Joseph Loke, what a run for the Aston Martin driver, heading in towards Lacombe for the final time. Will Loke be able to do it? Down the inside of Jack West into the braking zone. It's not enough. Jack West will maintain the lead of this Grand Prix. Jonah Martins not able to retake that P3 as now in towards Bruxelles for the final time. Last gasp effort down the inside for Joseph Loke, but it's not enough. Jack West will continue to lead here.
This defence from Jack West is amazing. He can't get through Joseph Condon. Also, that puts Jonah stuck behind. Now, Joseph has just got to send it. And I think Joseph Willie is a very aggressive driver when it comes to battling, along with Jonah Martins. These two, very aggressive. You can see Joseph Loke all over the back of Jack West, but can't get himself through. The battery, it's double the amount of batch for Joseph to Jack. And now Jonah Martins has got 14% at this moment. It looks like Joseph is in the best position. He's now got Savalo and then curve the pull right, and he can use all that battery, dump it down in towards the bus stop chicane. So I think at this point it is going to go the way of Joseph Loke, but we come through now down towards the Blanchemont corner. It looks like it is going to gain lots of there's 3 tenths going down in towards the bus stop chicane. Dan, I think it is Joseph Loke's victory.
Joseph Loke closing in towards the chicane. Here he comes around the outside of Jack West. This could go right to the line. Contact between the pair of them. Loke around the outside. Jack is going to try and hold it. Pin to the inside once again. Contact between the pair of them. Jack West off the circuit. Joseph Loke's going to do it on the final lap of the race. He's got by on Jack West, who will maintain P2. Jonah Martins, what a drive to P3. He'll remain in that podium position. Max Wiesel recovers into 4th, 5th for Ben Abercrombie. Jan Halarej, we remember he's dropped down to like 12th, 13th. He's found his way back onto 6th. Tycho Hardy stays in 7th, 8th for Mirko Soriano. Rounding out the top 10 is the 2 Williams of Yannick Schmidt and Sergio Sobrino. We can take a breath now because Joseph Loke wins by just under 0.2 of a second. Jack West went off the circuit trying to maintain all the speed he could because, of course, if he tried to make that corner, he wasn't going to be able to keep that P2, I think. It was a little bit of a cheap tactic, but I mean, it is all fair. He didn't keep the lead, which I think is the main thing, but Joseph Loke played that to perfection there. On the last lap, the final corner, and it all changed when Jack West went sub 10% on the battery, because then your ERS power is halved, and then we saw such a difference in the speed that Joseph Loke actually gained on Jack West, and he's come up good. That is 5 races started for Joseph Loke and 4 wins.
But for me, I think the top field have done a great job, but Jonah Martins for me is the driver of the day. P17 to P3, I thought, right, he's holding out on these mediums, this isn't going to work, but he come back through the pack. He obviously capitalised off people's incidents and he made it work. Absolutely phenomenal from Jonah, and I think, maybe one more lap he could have got that win because Jack and Joseph went very wide at the last corner. So, it could have all been to play for between any of those three. And I think it was more the one who, obviously had that better speed down towards Lacon, which was Joseph, and hats off to them all. And Max Wiesel as well, into P4, was on pole, and yet again the strategy getting the better of him, but it was still a P4 finish. It's still some decent points on the board, and bench Sabaconi as well. Not really someone I thought of, when you think of top 5. He wasn't really in, my predictions for that at all. He did a great job to put himself into the top 5.
I wonder when Joseph Loke is going to get a shot at starting in PSGL F1. I'm just going to have a look at last night because I don't think he raced that evening. No. But I know of a few names on that grid which I think Joseph Loke could give a run for their money. And he has been so incredibly quick on this F1 23 game. Of course, he's a real-life racer, so he doesn't really have the time for F1 esports, and that is why he's had a few less starts so far this season. But he's definitely mounting a real challenge for the championship here as he wins here in Belgium. He'll close the gap ever so slightly to Jack West by about 4 points. However, Jack has done a superb job of just doing damage limitation. That is 2nd position from 10th on the grid. That was a really strong drive from Jack West, and Jonah Martins, hats off to him, getting himself onto the podium from starting in 17th. He was disqualified in qualifying, and he was able to make his way up the order, capitalising, I'd say, off the incidences as well. And one thing I'd like to note is that I've seen Nicholas Longe giving his support in the chat, and that is just a great thing to see, that they are more than just engineer and driver. They are really good friends, and it is wonderful to see the support he's given there.
And I think for Joseph, the key part he can take away from this is he will take 2nd in the championship. Yeah. Which is key. It's very good, isn't it? And the gap between Joseph and Jack being what? It's 16 to 12, so 4 points means Joseph will be 15 points back from Jack West. So he's within a win of the championship. Championship lead, we should say. Yeah,
it's really... It is a really strong showing from Joseph Loke, and I think if he was here for every single week, the championship picture would look a lot different. At this point. He'd be winning races in and out, and I maybe we'll ask about that if he did turn up to every single race. Maybe if he has any word to comment on what he thinks the championship would look like. But Nathan, a lot of controversy in this race. It seems like it's taken the driving standards again. They've taken a dip from Belgium, from Imola last week, which was a great Grand Prix. But unfortunately today, it just looked a bit careless.
Yeah. Again, many drivers, obviously, it just seems like at this point they don't care, and it's a shame, but it is what it is. It seems they don't ever seem to listen. So I think harsher punishments are the way to go. And like I said before, it's many repeat offenders. Obviously everyone makes mistakes, but you see certain drivers doing it more often than others. People do it nearly every single race. So it's a shame, but I suppose it is what it is, and we've got to just get on with it, unfortunately, until, maybe when real esports comes around the corner, maybe some changes happen there, maybe, some psychological change for the drivers, seeing the esports drivers race a bit cleaner, maybe they'll take that into account as well for the upcoming PSGL races. And also, obviously, many of these drivers are affiliated with esports teams, so they're going to have to start thinking differently in the sense of, well, esports teams are like saying, well, if you're driving like this, we don't want you part of our team.
Yeah, it just seems to be all too common at this point. Every single week, it's just getting a bit tiring, really. I I've given my spiel before in other streams and on PCF2 as well about, how this is just ridiculous stuff, and myself and Nathan, we give up time. I don't want to get into it again. I just want change, really, and I think harsher penalties need to be adjusted, and it needs to be to the point where the drivers are saying, that's so unfair, why'd I get that? And it's sad it has to be that way, because an incident that shouldn't warrant a 10-second time penalty seems to be what is happening. And sometimes a 10-second time penalty is too lenient if it's just over and over again. So the stewards really just need to, I think, just bump everything up a level or something. Just anything that works. And if drivers don't want to race in a league where they're going to get a million penalties for, messing up and killing other drivers around them, then so be it. There's plenty of drivers in F3 and F4 that come in every single week, race cleanly, and then try and get better. And if you don't have that drive to improve, then why even turn up? And it's good to see. I'm looking in the Discord chat. Drivers are giving some apologies. I think the incident between Tamas and Camel, I think that was the main talking point, to be complete, like the big incident today. Tamas just straight up said, as soon as the race finished, I'm really sorry about that. Camel says no worries, there's no bad blood between them, and Camel actually says it's karma for what happened between himself and Jan Halliday. So I think that gives us a little bit of a clue as to what happened between them down at turn number 1. Yeah. I don't think Jan Halliday is going to care all too much. He had a good result in the end, and Camel Stasher, I don't actually remember where he finished, but nevertheless, I mean, it's got to change.
It has, and I suppose on the bright side, we do have P1 or 2 in the waiting room ready to come in if you'd like to drag them up, because for some reason I can't drag them.
Yeah, I will bring us over to the interview room, and then I'll drag in Joseph and Jack to the stream. Who should we start off with, Nathan? You can talk to either one of them.
We'll speak with Jack, championship leader. Jack, can you hear us?
Hi, yeah.
So, yeah, again, another decent result. P2 in this race today. You still keep your championship lead, but Joseph getting in very quickly. Do you think it could come down to the last race between you and him?
I mean, I know Joe's probably the quickest in the tier, but I mean, I know he's missing races because of real life. But I mean, I say I'm not worrying about him. He still could probably win every race. He probably will win every race going into the final few races. But how I've looked at it, I've gained a lot of points on Mirko, and Mirko's he's going to be the one doing every race the rest of the season. So to gain points on him is quite massive, really.
Yeah, and obviously qualifying not ideal today again. P10. Was there any issues with pace, or was it just with the invalidations?
I mean, to be fair, going into the race, my pace was quite poor, but for some reason in the session, I found quite a lot of confidence. I mean, I invalidated probably P2 on my second and third run. I was just pushing a bit too much. So I still was quite unsure on what downforce to go with, high or low, but I eventually went with high, and I kind of wasn't really used to how much grip there was in the middle sector, and I kind of just pushed too much and invalidated twice in middle sector.
Yeah, but obviously Mirko having quite a lot of trouble in the last couple of races. Obviously that's helped you quite a lot. I think now you're probably about 20 points, something like that, ahead of him, because you was already about 11 points ahead before. So obviously going into the next race, which I believe is at Jeddah, do you think that's another possibility to put yourself into the top 3?
I mean, you can't really predict anything with Jeddah. Jeddah's always a chaos race. It's the whole train is sitting in the whole grid is sitting in a train, so you can't really predict what's going to happen. It's not really about pace. It's kind of just about how good you can keep out of crashes, really. So, well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and well, that's all from me. Anything from you, Dan?
No questions from me, Jack, but really well done today. I mean, starting from P10, going up to P2, you can't really complain about that.
Yep, cheers.
All right, so we will let you get away and enjoy that P2 finish, and we can talk to our race winner this evening. Joseph, can you hear me?
I sure can.
All right, I'm going to see if I can turn you up on Discord really quick, because you're really quiet. I've got you at 200%. Is
It's really quiet.
I can talk a bit louder if you want.
All right, there we go. I think that should be fine. We should be able to hear you well enough. Let's talk about your qualifying. Starting, I think, in P2. What happened there?
Well, it's always good when I say that P2 is a bad performance for me. So, it's I was quite far off what I know I should have been able to do in session, and to be honest, very disappointed with quali in terms of the lap I did. But I still was enough to be to be at the front and be able to fight for the win, and that's the main thing with qualifying, especially in PSGL. If you're at the back, you're going to struggle quite a bit. Although obviously Jack through from P10, so but yeah, it was overall happy with the position, I guess. But I should have been on pole really. The pace should have been stronger than that.
Yeah, and of course, heading into the race, you went for the medium tyres and you found yourself in a championship, not in a championship fight, in a race-winning fight towards the end of the Grand Prix. And around about, lap number 20, it seemed like the picture had been formed. You were leading ahead of Jack. What was your strategy heading into the last few laps there?
Last few laps, I was just basically maintaining my battery. I knew I could get away with using probably 10% in a lap, and then I could regenerate it within a couple. So, I was just doing what I had to do to stay in P1 or P2, because I knew that obviously if I ended up P3, I'd be nowhere. So, the main thing was to make sure that I was still P2, and then obviously Jack tried to back me up last corner, which is obviously what I'd expect him to do, things like that. But I'd probably do the same. So, it was good racing, and luckily Jonah didn't have any battery left by the time he got to the top of Eau Rouge. So, yeah, it meant that I could get past him and then attack Jack into the last corner.
I mean, what a finish. It was incredible to see, almost going right to the line. You ended up getting the nose on Jack, and now that is your 5th start of this season, and that's your 4th win. And we were talking just after the end of the race that if you turned up to every single Grand Prix, do you think that the championship picture could look a little bit different than it is now?
Obviously, I think if I'd been at every race, obviously I would have been scoring points in those as well, you'd hope. Obviously, you don't know what would have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have scored anything. But at the same time, it is a bit of a shame that I can't make all the races. But hey-ho, you can't change that. I'm going to miss a couple more probably this season, which is a bit of a shame. But you never know. If Jack and Mirko aren't scoring points in some races, things like that, I can always close the gap. And, they're setbacks, but they're not putting me out the question. So, we'll see what we can do. And, if we keep winning races like we are, then I don't see why we can't be at least there or thereabouts.
And just one more thing from me. We were talking at the end of the stream at the end of the race once again, just about your sheer pace that you have here in F2. I mean, your time in F1 would have been good enough for like a top 5 start or something. So, are you hoping for eventually a start in PCF1?
Obviously, it'd be nice to race against those guys. I do think I could do a decent job against them, and I think I need the opportunity really to show that, because obviously being in F2, I think obviously people are still very fast in that, and as I showed today, I'm not on pole every time, so it's not like it's a walk in the park by any means. So I think I'd love to have an opportunity in F1 and to see what I can do in that tier against the top guys in the world. But if the opportunity comes around, then I'll definitely take it.
Absolutely. That's all from me. Thank you very much for joining us, Nathan. Anything you want to say to our race winner tonight?
Well done, first of all. Another great race, another great victory, and hopefully Connor's listening in the chat, so maybe in a couple of weeks' time you do get a chance in F1, because I think you deserve it. I think there's many drivers who've had a chance, and you probably deserve it a lot more, so we'll see what happens, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. I'd quite enjoy it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's all from me, so yeah, well done, Joseph. Nice one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph, for joining us in the commentary box. We'll let you get away and enjoy that win. And yeah, I mean, what a race it was in the last few laps there. Definitely, there were some issues with the driving standards once again. But I think we just got to come to accept them at some point. It's not going to be a perfect race. I just hope that it does get better. Ever so slightly, 1 or 2 less incidents per race. I think it's going to be a major improvement. So, yeah. What else can we really say, Nathan?
Yeah. I think it was the fact of the incidents weren't very often. There wasn't that many, but it was the fact of how severe each incident was. There wasn't many that were minor. There's a bit of contact in there, but I don't class as an incident. But you got people braking too late in the corners, taking people out. You got people moving on straights, which is just, there's no words for that, is there? Absolutely no words at all. So, yeah, it is what it is. But we move on to next week, which is Jeddah. It's not going to get any better, is it?
No. I'm not looking. Truth be told, I'm not looking forward to it in terms of driving standards. But it always makes for very close finishes in league racing. Normally down to the 100th of a second. So let's hope we get 5 cars fighting towards the line. No incidents whatsoever. And we can all live happily ever after. That is all from us this evening, I think. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here for this Belgian Grand Prix. We had some great numbers in the stream tonight. I saw a lot of names in the live chat supporting a bunch of different drivers. So, all your support is very well appreciated. That is all from myself and Nathan today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the PSGL YouTube channel and leaving a like on the stream. And if you want to follow us on our social media, it will be at PremierSimGL on Instagram and Twitter. And then if you want to keep up to date with all of your PSGL news, you can join the Discord. The link will be in the description. Once again, that is everything for this evening. Thank you. Hello? What is it? Oh, the stream.
Oh, you disappeared for 10 seconds.
I disappeared. Yeah, something happened with the stream. I had some dropped frames. Hopefully, my outro was broadcasted. I'm not too sure what happened there. I guess I'll just start it again. Thank you everyone for tuning in and giving us all your support this evening. It's greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the PSGL YouTube channel and leaving a like on the stream. If you want to follow us on social media, it'll be at PremierSimGL on Instagram and Twitter. And then if you want to keep up to date with all of your PSGL news, you can join the Discord. The link is in the description. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in this evening. Thank you to our sponsors at GT Omega. We will join you next week for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah. Thank you everyone once again, and good night.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside. Oh, here he's through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.